Hi. Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Mom Project's Mentor Power Hour series. My name is Elizabeth Shackelford, Senior Partner of PR and Social here at the Mom Project, and I am so excited to moderate today's discussion with CTS Impact CEO and President Julie Scott. This Mentor Power Hour series provides our talent community with access to incredible leaders across our employee partner network in a unique and intimate discussion. Today, you'll learn about CTS Impact's company mission, culture, and current career opportunities, and we'll also discuss the importance of mentorship and how CTS Impact supports career development and growth opportunities across the organization. Before we start, a few housekeeping notes. This session will be recorded and shared afterwards. If you miss anything, you'll have a recording. And we'll have time for audience questions at the end of the session. So just leave your questions in the chat and we'll get to those at the end. All right, Julie, you ready to get started?
I am. Just thanks, everyone. Thanks to the Mom Project, especially Elizabeth, for asking me to spend some time with your group. We absolutely love working with the Mom Project. We have several members of our staff actually came through from the Mom Project. And so we regard this partnership as absolutely essential to the growth of our firm and just thrilled to be able to share some perspective with your group today.
Well, we are so happy you were here. So, to get started, we'd love to hear a little bit about your background. Where did your career begin, and how did you uncover your professional path and purpose that led you to where you are today?
Okay, and I'll warn you, it's a bit non-traditional. I kind of start with, as you know, many of you might know, I'm actually founder of CTS Impact. This year is our 20-year anniversary, yay, which we're very excited about. And we're celebrating it all year. It's too big an accomplishment to celebrate in only a day or month. But I actually founded the firm coming out of a pretty traditional career track in finance and technology. So I refer to myself as a bit of an accidental entrepreneur. I never really intended to start my own firm. I started in accounting at a public accounting firm as an auditor, pretty traditional career track, either to become a partner of a CPA firm or CFO of a large company. Sounded like a great goal. I enjoyed my career, left public accounting and went into industry in retail. At the time, worked my way up to the top of the finance organization at Crate and Barrel, where I led different mergers and acquisitions, strategic transactions, et cetera. Loved my job, but got to the point of saying, wait, is this all there is? And sort of caught myself by surprise. So I regard this as a step in my journey that was pivotal to say, well, what's next? And really concurrently with that, which brought it all together, was I was starting to build my young family. So I'm a working mom. I built our firm over my son's life. He's now 26, but I'm very empathetic to working parents. But really, in kind of in formation of both my career goals as well as my personal goals, it really forced me to look at how I was spending my time. And I was looking for an organization where I could work with other people who were passionate about what they do. It sounds a little geeky, but I really enjoy solving complex client problems. And I wanted to work with other people who shared that passion. And I wanted to also feel like we were giving and part of something more and giving back, but also that I had flexibility for my young family. And in looking around, I really couldn't find it. And so literally why I say I'm an accidental entrepreneur is because I said, well, if it doesn't exist, I guess I have to build it myself. And that was really the genesis for CTS Impact. We wanted to build a non-traditional, innovative consulting model where everybody rolls up their sleeves. But very different from a traditional consulting model is that our entire staff, like myself, have real world hands-on experience across different disciplines, whether it's finance and accounting, human resources, operations, supply chain, data analytics. So the idea is to apply that real world practical perspective and bring that to our clients. So that's kind of a broad brush of my journey. I feel I'm still on it, but I think I was the most surprised of anyone when I decided to form my own firm. And now I can't imagine working for anyone else. I'm having too much fun doing what I'm doing. So,
Well, no, and it sounds like it, and your passion just exudes through. My next question was talking about CTS Impact's 20-year anniversary, but also kind of, you know, talking about how CTS Impact is different than other firms. You touched on, real world experience, but is there anything else that we want to talk about in terms that, sets CTS Impact apart?
yeah, it's a great question because it's inherent to it really brought shape to our entire formation of the firm as well as our continued evolution. When we're looking to innovate, like let's say a new service or a new practice, we always have to come back to be true to our founding principles of does this really differentiate us in our go-to-market strategy in the marketplace, both in the eyes of our clients as well as our staff. And we view those equally. We refer them as our pillars of the organization. And the third is our social impact. We have to make sure that, and beginning in 2016, I don't know if you're aware, but we added the word impact to our name to really make a mark in the world to say we're a successful organization, but what we choose to do with our profits is to give back to help those in our community. So in working through that was really to everything that we do in the way we hire. It's a non-traditional recruitment process. We'll talk a little bit about that. In the way we work with our clients, it is hands-on, roll up your sleeves. Our mantra is we want to leave the client in a better place than when we arrived. We work on a whole host of very complex business integration type initiatives. Clients are going through typically some type of massive change. Right now, a lot of it's about rapid growth, where their infrastructure has not scaled up to keep pace. How do we help them automate, rethink process, organizational structure, reporting, all of those to drive the return on their investment of their growth? So everything we had to look at and gave shape to was how did we want to be different from the traditional model? In fact, I joke with people, I refer to the term consulting. Sometimes the C word is a dirty word because people carry a lot of baggage. Their view of what consulting is informed by a traditional model, which we don't subscribe to. In other words, a traditional firm used to live out of a suitcase. We don't travel. Other firms, they're very focused on the high level assessment. We bring a practical view. So it's another dimension. The other is we don't work a gazillion hours a week. And we have been all about flexibility. As I mentioned, part of why I founded the firm was because I need flexibility. That's inherent to our work. We tell our clients up front about it. We're not here to work 60 hours a week. We want our staff, and we differentiate ourselves that you'll have time as a member of our team to give back. However, with your family, with boards you sit on, committees, nonprofits you're active in, so that it's not just talking about it, but it's walking the walk.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Talk to me a bit about how CTS ensures diverse representation and career opportunities for women, women of color, and most importantly, moms.
Yeah, for sure. Well, as I said, I'm a working mom myself, so we couldn't help but have that model from the very beginning. To me, it's all about equality for all and thinking about what is the best combination of diverse perspectives in helping our clients, helping each other learn, helping our community. So that means we have to make sure that we're being inclusive enough to have different voices at the table. And it's not just about gender or race or culture. It's also about age. It's about socioeconomic perspectives. We want people at also, when we pull together a staffing model, which is what we call our creation of our project teams with clients, no two people on the team have the same expertise. And I think that's really cool. It's actually a key differentiator for us as well, back to your previous question. So you might have one person on the team that knows the industry very well because they've lived in it. Another might know the tools we're working with at a very real time kind of a power user perspective. You might have another member of the team who's very familiar with a certain process or change management component. So the combination of that, the collaboration of our team, is really what results in this much better outcome and a meaningful outcome for improvement of the client versus just more of a Band-Aid. So for us, we want to make sure, and the Mom Project has really helped us with ensuring that we have a very diverse and inclusive culture, because we want to make sure we have access and we are finding people who can really help us to continue to enrich our culture.
Well, and on that note, can you share some insights into the application process for those interested in joining the team?
Yes, I would love to talk the whole time about our hiring process because we are absolutely very much in an aggressive growth cycle right now, which I wasn't certain at first as a leader if this was more of a blip, but this is sustained growth. That is our headline. And so with that, as a professional services firm, to grow, we need to add to our staff. So we are actively hiring right now. And our starting point really of our hiring process, as you probably expect that I was going to say, it's a non-traditional approach.
Mhm.
So it's not the typical kind of come through, tell us a little bit about yourself. We actually do what we call a reverse interview. We want our candidates to know everything about us. We set them up to meet different members of our team, and our team is given no direction about what they can say or can't say. We are a team of extroverts and they're very forthcoming. I would like it that any candidate could call anyone in our staff and hear a consistent message, unprompted, unscripted. For me, in the hiring process, it's incumbent on us to give the candidate all the information they need to make the best decision for them. So that means we need to spend time not just talking about projects and technical skills, but in our recruitment process, we talk a lot about our culture, which is really my primary focus to ensure we continue to enhance our culture because it is a competitive advantage. It's why we have such a high employee retention rate. We want to make sure people have a good understanding of who they'll be working with. And I like to say people know exactly what they're getting into when they join our team. So we do that reverse of making sure people have access to our team. In fact, sometimes they even meet the clients they'll be working with even before they start. So as our business operations manager, Melissa, will tell you, I don't like surprises, and I don't think others do too. Let's make sure you have all the information you need to understand our firm, and we're very proud of it. So we're happy to tell you about it. I would hope that all the candidates see the passion. It's not just mine, but it's shared across our team. And also that you get insight into what makes people, what gets them out of bed in the morning. So people will share different social impact causes. We call them social impact partners that we support. And it's not just writing a check. We have part of our staff, we have team captains who are not just, a figurehead, but they're sitting on committees. They're helping us to understand where can we help these organizations by sponsoring events or advocating in LinkedIn, or how do we really help align ourselves, our values with these organizations. And so I want to make sure in the hiring process, people are exposed to that as well.
Mhm.
There's frankly a lot of noise out there of organizations saying they're committed to diversity and flexibility. To me, I'm like, we need to show it. I think talk is one thing, but I want to be able for candidates to see that this is real. It's every day, and we didn't just throw this together. We've been doing it for 20 years and are very much committed to it and plan to continue to. So that the hiring process, hopefully it's very informative for the candidate. And then as part of that, we want to make sure there are special considerations that the candidates might have around scheduling. We actually, as a firm format, offer two types of employment strata, whether it's specific to a project or salaried. They're all employees. They're all eligible for the great benefits we offer. But we're a boutique firm, right? So we're nimble. We can tailor things that suit unique needs. And again, I think that's a key part of why people have been so loyal to our firm. So long answer to your question about the process, but we're very intentional about how we proceed in that process.
Well, and it sounds like a mutually selective process where everyone's vetting each other. But I think if what you're saying too about the messaging across the board and across CTS Impact employees is there, why wouldn't anyone want to work there?
Well, thank you. That's a good thing too. Yeah, it's for us is the value of bringing people aboard. That's just the beginning of the journey. We talk a lot about onboarding is a process or a journey. One of my favorite words. It's not a one and done. You don't go to an orientation session and check the box. We want to make sure we work very hard to make sure that new hires feel surrounded. I like terms like you're immersed in CTS Impact. You'll have HR support. You have direct line to me. I work a lot with our new hires. We have ambassadors aligned for all new hires to kind of show people the ropes. And an ambassador is someone who's not even assigned to the project team they're working on. And then in addition would be practice leads and engagement managers so that people feel they have multiple access points, multiple resources to help them, because we appreciate we're hiring people who have been highly accomplished in their careers, but this is quite a departure in some cases from what they've been doing. So we need to make sure people can build, and sometimes for working moms or dads returning to the workplace, they have the skills, but sometimes need to reestablish some confidence. So we recognize that as well. So we've got infrastructure in place to help ensure that people are able to build that as they continue to grow with the firm.
Yeah, absolutely. And what type of candidates thrive at CTS Impact?
Oh, well, I could gush about our whole team. I do believe we are incredibly fortunate. I am so fortunate in terms of our staff, very different in terms of skill sets, but I think there's some key success criteria that allow them to be successful. I mean, I look at Greg Allen from our team. He actually has been with me from almost the beginning. So he's celebrating his 20-year anniversary. He's one of our practice leads. And I think about him and others on our team who very much work in this collaborative model, right? We have another kind of, it's sort of a tongue-in-cheek comment, but we're not a team of divas. So everybody rolls up their sleeves. If you're too busy today, what can I do to take it off your plate, or vice versa? And that's this collaborative model. I think when people have a collaborative mindset, it really suits them for success in the firm. Other things, I think, being very nimble and adaptable, because in a real world situation, we're working with Fortune 1000 companies where there's multiple initiatives going on concurrently. So priorities are going to shift inevitably. Well, we're not working in a vacuum. So we need to be cognizant of that and be prepared to pivot. And the depth of expertise should allow us to do that. So being very nimble and adaptable. I think other skills, something that I look for and reward for staff, our high performers, they bring a professional curiosity to the table every day. I think of our team, they're a team of problem solvers. Like we like puzzles. We don't want the easy quick fix. We're not here to rubber stamp. If the client already knows the answer, why hire us? We're usually brought into some, like as I said, highly complex issues. So having a professional curiosity about how can we do this differently? Is there another perspective? Those are incredibly valuable skills. And then I think ultimately, as an entrepreneurial firm, we are looking for innovation. So that's a skill set that I very much value and look for in successful candidates, is not just to cover the desk and let's just do it the same way it's always been done, but bringing that fresh perspective of, how can we innovate to not just analyze the problem differently, but how can we solve it more efficiently? And then what can we innovate and learn from that to help another client and the client after that? And that's when you really get this impact engine going. And it can be a lot of fun. And I also think what we have seen, it creates this tremendous professional development opportunity for our staff. So we have new products, new services, we're innovating. Let's get our team exposed to it, because the more they have experience, obviously it's your professional development and fulfillment, right? We want you to have a great employee experience. And also you have that much more now to contribute and add to your next client. So they benefit. So it's very much, we view it as a continuum. It's not just I'm helping the staff or the client. I view if we take great care of our staff, ultimately the client will get the best service possible. So it's, again, a key differentiator from a traditional model that views things more in silos. We are blurring lines all over the place.
Oh, that was a wonderful answer. Thank you. Well, and okay, since this is Mentor Power Hour, we want to ask you a question about the impact that mentorship has had on your career. Can you talk about what roles mentors have played in your life?
Yes. And Elizabeth, you know this, when I was approached to speak, I said mentors for me have been pivotal in formation of my whole career journey and continue to be people that I very much depend on. So I still look to my mentors, and I very much enjoy mentoring others. But clearly, you can find mentors anywhere, both professionally and personally. So it is one of my favorite things to share some perspective on. From a professional setting, actually, why don't I start with personal? From a personal perspective, my mom and my grandma, very strong women. My parents raised my sister and I to think that we could do anything. It did I attribute it to the fact my dad wanted sons. So my sister and I were raised to be the boys he never had. And there was again, I'm considerably older than some of your team, but there was not going to be any concessions just because we were women. That should never be a limitation. And a lot of my work is around gender equity, so you can kind of tell where that came from. But having those mentors, seeing strong women leaders, my mom was a stay-at-home mom until I went to high school. And when she went back to work, I told her it was still one of the proudest moments I had. I thought it was the coolest thing ever. And it was important for the way I viewed my career. And then if you look at your family can also be mentors. My husband, he's a true visionary. He's an entrepreneur. He's taught me a lot about giving back to the community. My son, he's younger, but he continues to inspire me by the work he's doing around immigration reform. So in a personal setting, you can draw from mentors, is my point. Now, certainly in a professional setting, as I mentioned, my mentors are my go-tos. Like I can't imagine trying to solve, when I encounter something major, trying to solve it on my own is, I recognize I don't have all the answers anymore. So mentors are pivotal, but some of my mentors, one is Cheryl Francis. She heads up the Chicago Leadership Center. Serves on several public company boards. She has been an innovator in the philanthropic space with her family. And she, from the very beginning, was one of my mentors in always challenging me to think about new innovations and challenging even some things that I was holding very, very much as true that really needed to be questioned. And she has given me some tremendous advice. And I think along with that is working with Connie Duckworth. She was the first woman to lead an sales operation at Goldman Sachs. Left her corporate career to work with nonprofit organizations. Incredible inspiration to me as well. Linda Myers heads up the executive committee of Kirkland and Ellis, traditionally very male dominated, corporate law environment. So individuals like this, I feel like you can draw on things for me in the beginning, Cheryl Francis, one of my mentors, she was much further along in her career. And I remember just studying her, how she would approach even a meeting, how she would speak, how she would dress, how she would coach and manage her team. That was really the nucleus of thinking about what would help define my leadership style. And then also see then as she moved into the nonprofit space, she was one actually who really encouraged me to think about how I could find an outlet for my goal to give back. I didn't know where to start. I didn't know how to join boards. And she was really not just a sponsor, but she was an ambassador. She made sure I was at the table. She advocated for me. And that's when a mentor, I think, can be most effective is certainly the support is the starting point, but they can also be such a fierce advocate for you as well. And that's what all these people have done. But I do want to highlight that mentors don't only have to be women for women or men for men, or it's people in general. I have found mentors, across the board. And I think you have to just look at there's different elements that you can really leverage to help you. And I do think it's important to have more than one mentor. And how you assimilate that is really up to the individual. But I also would encourage your team to think about how they can be mentors to others. And you don't have to wait till you're a million years into your career like I am. People have something valuable to share all the time. Someone who might be going through something that you've already been through. You can be such a high impact influencer on them, probably beyond what people even recognize. So I would encourage people to think about being a mentee as well as being a mentor and fostering both of those relationships simultaneously. So I think that's something that we have, I think, provided our team ample opportunities for in terms of being out in the community and working with others so that they have other outlets for mentors outside of just strictly the four walls of CTS Impact. So.
No, that was wonderful. I mean, like, who can I tap in?
Yeah, well, I have to tell you, and I have to put a plug in because I always share this story. People have heard me speak before, but even as a young child, and I have my picture with her behind me on my shelf, but Billie Jean King. Okay, I've actually had the chance to meet her, later in my career, but as a child did not. I was a tennis nut. She played tennis.
Mhm.
She was all about equality from the very beginning. Tennis was just a platform for her. And I still she is one of my go-to idols, which I think is like mentor on steroids. But what she represents and continues to inspire me. And so I think about others in terms of a mentor relationship. There's others out there. Maybe you don't even have a chance to meet them. They can still help you develop professionally and personally. But to me, she was, if you can see it, you can be it. I was a young person playing tennis, and this is going to sound really wild, but she wore glasses and I wore glasses. I thought that was like radical because a lot of people who played tennis then sports did not wear glasses. And then the kicker was, of course, she loved Elton John, which at the time was my favorite act. And I was like, okay, this is what she represents. And she was trying to overcome a lot about things that we benefit from now in the corporate workplace, which people may not be aware of. But she was really the leader in terms of equal pay for women. And that's something we still have work to do in overall corporate within the United States. Our firm obviously very much subscribes to equality regardless. Nothing to do with gender. It's can you do the work? But I look to other people like that as being mentors as well. Really, I don't think mentors is the right term, but they inspire me as well as a leader.
Yeah, and I love that idea of tapping outside of your network or tapping outside of what you think may be a mentor and really seeking inspiration from outside sources.
Yeah.
in a different way.
Yeah.
Well, and for our talent community who are tuning in, what advice do you have for getting involved in a mentor relationship, whether as a mentor or a mentee?
You know, I think it's first of all to think about a few different people simultaneously and think about some of the things that you're curious about where they might have a particular strength or expertise or even a passion. Your mentor doesn't have to be necessarily in your same profession. It could be something else that you have a shared interest in. But there's certainly many different professional organizations. That's where I've been able to align with many of my mentors in the Chicagoland area. There's different groups. Some are aligned around finance, others perhaps are women's leadership organizations. Every city has different resources, but I find those as wonderful networking options to find those mentoring opportunities. And actually, some have now formalized those programs and can pair you up. But I think also, if you're willing to be a mentor, you will find making yourself accessible. You'll have incredible demand for for your perspective. And it doesn't have to be time consuming. It could be grabbing coffee at Starbucks and catching up or jumping on a Zoom. So, but I think the the sense of fulfillment you get as a mentor mentee, the key is that it's mutually beneficial. So in trying to find a mentor, I think it's when there is something that helps both grow is when they're the most successful. So, broadly speaking, I would start with professional organizations. I also think university alumni groups
Mhm.
are incredibly, they have a great wealth of resources who are just dying to meet other alums. And I did that begin. I'm very active with the University of Illinois in Urbana-Champaign, the Geese College of Business. And that has been a wonderful um, network for me to cultivate and meet mentors and mentees. I still mentor several students. And so those are different, just to your question, those are specific resources I think people can access where they might find these mentors. It could be someone's manager, it could be someone
Mhm.
at another firm that they'd like to work for in the future. I think you'd be surprised how receptive people are, especially if they've benefited from a successful mentoring relationship. You feel this need that you want to give back as well.
Mhm. Absolutely. Well, thank you for that. I think those are very, very helpful tips. Changing gears slightly, I want to talk about working parent life at CTS Impact and what policies and benefits, and you've touched on flexibility, but just talk to me about what working parent life is like at CTS Impact.
Yeah, well, I hope it's a lot of fun. you know, we put it in our employment contract that people will foster an environment of creativity, innovation, and fun. So we take fun very seriously. And I would hope it's the same regardless of anyone's personal situation. But I think we have been, particularly informed by my own specific situation, very in tune that there are going to be special accommodations sometimes that are needed for working parents. I can give you some specific examples. For us, is in this collaborative model I was describing, is to include everyone at the front end. So we have a member of our staff. He has a special needs child. Their school doesn't open until late, like 9:30. He does the drop off in the morning. And so we make sure that the client knows up front. It's not that he's late for meetings. It's just this is his schedule. And we make sure that everyone's on board up front. No surprises. And in that way, we can all move forward. And it's just a matter of being professional and communicating. So I think in terms of working parents, working closely with our staff to understand, are there certain restrictions or scheduling challenges? As long as we know up front, we can navigate just about anything. And I think we have very successfully. It's just that it's that feeling of, we're working together at this. You're not a team of one.
Mhm.
You're a team of others who want to help, and sometimes they're going to need some help. So, for us, the benefits would be the same. We subsidize on average 75% of the health insurance benefits for our staff. And it's not just for the employee, it's if they opt to include in their insurance coverage their entire family. I know there's lots of companies that are kind of slicing and dicing that benefit these days. We want our staff to be healthy and happy. So we're going to commit to that. And it doesn't matter, working parent or not, those benefits are there. We also have some people who have particular challenges. They're working parents and they're also maybe have elder care considerations for their parents. So they're sandwiched in the middle. They need some particularly extra flexibility and support, and we want to make sure we're there for them as well. But in terms of, ensuring the flexibility, and I know people throw that term around, but it's inherent to our entire model. It's the absolute nature of the work that we do, and we ensure that we have adequate staff to cover the work. So again, like I mentioned, we're not working the excessive hours per week. We hire professionals. We talk a lot about that. You know what your responsibilities are in your schedule. We're not watching the clock. I tell candidates, if you want someone who's going to check in and make sure you're at your desk at 8, you're at the wrong firm. That's not me. That's not us. We want people to feel accountable to their deliverables, and they know what it needs to get done. And if they need help, they need to speak up in advance because the team wants to help, and vice versa. So, you don't have to be a working parent to want flexibility. For me, that's available to everyone. And, but, we recognize there's special accommodations for people, and our model is built, as I say, to support whatever those needs might be. So.
Well, and it sounds like you are meeting employees exactly where they are or where they want to be. And, that's what makes it so important. Any parting advice for all of the working parents who are tuning in today as they work, towards achieving their career goals?
Yeah, well, it's how much time do you have? I love giving my opinion, so this is a great question for me. But in terms of advice, and I think this is something that I continue to see, particularly for working moms. I think there is a tendency for working moms to sometimes sell themselves short a little bit. And I am here to be an advocate for those working moms and dads to make sure that they understand their value. And I think that's important, especially now. We know that employers are having challenges with the great resignation to hire and rehire back. And so as part of that, I think we as a workforce, you can hold those employers accountable. Do another piece of advice would be really do the research. As I mentioned, I think there's a lot of window dressing out there right now about organizations and their commitment to flexibility and diversity. And I've encouraged people to ask very specific questions. Give me examples of it. What do you mean by flexibility even? Flexibility to someone might mean that you're willing to work only Saturdays and not Saturday and Sunday. I'm like, no, that's not flexibility to me. Why am I working a weekend? But the term gets thrown around. Do your research and hold people accountable to ask them specific questions. Other things, I always give advice to, whether it's working parents or otherwise, is to continue to cultivate your network even when you're not looking for a job, even when you're not in transition. It's a great vehicle to develop these mentoring relationships that you had been asking about. The network is something that will help you and will grow with you through your career. And so it's important to pay attention to it and to nurture it and to be part of your community. The way we do it at our firm, a lot of the networking actually happens through our social impact work. It has nothing to do with business integration, but it's organizations we're involved with. We're very committed to supporting organizations around equal access to high quality education, for example. So we do tutoring and mentoring of students. We support scholarships and programs. And when you're serving on a committee with others who share that passion, you develop wonderful, meaningful connections with people that might lead to other opportunities to work together.
Mhm.
I feel that's a much more authentic way to build a connection versus, passing around virtual business cards at a networking event. So, bottom line is seek out your passions and invest the time to research, try out different organizations and see if it's something that really aligns with your values. I'm sure they need help with something. If you have finance expertise, they're going to want you to be on a finance committee. If who knows, HR challenges, whatever the skill sets your team has, marketing for sure, everyone needs help with that. So find organizations that you're passionate about and then see how you can get involved. And I think that also helps to, continue to curate your personal and your professional network. And then ultimately, I think that suits you up for me is to lead by example. No matter where you're at in your career, every decision you're making is, others are observing. Whether you know it or not, you are a mentor for someone else. And just as I observed some other women leaders earlier in my career, you have a chance to lead by example as well. And the way we think of it as CTS Impact is how we lead through who we work with. Do they align with our values? Who we hire as our vendors, our bankers, our lawyers, our accountants. We screen them for their diversity programs, even in the way we invest. As of last year, 100% of our investment assets are in organizations that are around advocating for gender equity. And that took us a while to get there, but I felt this is something, if we feel this strongly, we need to put that stake in the ground. So it's a way you can participate in affecting change, being part of the change, right?
Mhm.
A champion for change ultimately. So this leading by example, I think, creates that opportunity for us to continue to give back.
That was wonderful and impactful imparting advice for like I know our talent community and myself are really going to take that and run with it. Well, and before we get into our audience Q&A, one of your lovely team members recommended that we do a quick rapid fire Q&A, asking you some questions, that are a bit more fun.
Okay.
So I'll dive in. Can you tell us the best book that you've read recently?
Oh yes. Oh yes. Born a Crime by Trevor Noah, and life-changing book. I've recommended to a million people during COVID. I've actually reread it. You can get it and hear him read it.
Ooh.
You do books on tape.
Mhm.
And high impact. I was not as familiar with him before I read the book, but has a very unique perspective about equality and discrimination and his life's journey. And it's funny, crazy funny. So yes, I recommend that book to everyone.
Okay, that's great. I wrote that down.
Yeah.
What is your most used productivity hack?
Siri. I am a Siri dictating machine. I use Siri to read me my emails, to send messages. My rule is I try not to touch the keyboard of my phone. So, yes, that and probably a few others, but I guess Amazon Prime probably.
That's always a good one.
Yeah,
Do you have any hidden talents or hobbies?
yes. Do I have to reveal them?
Only if you want to. You don't have to.
No, my not so hidden. It's not a talent; it is a hobby. But I am a huge lover of all types of music, different genre, and I do support some local alternative rock bands. And so I very much like to see the development of young artists that really have a unique musical message and have something to say, interesting through music. I play electric guitar very poorly, so I do not consider I wouldn't consider it a talent. But anyway, that's kind of my my alternate ego, I guess, whatever you call.
I love it. Um, are you a morning person or a night owl?
Everyone on my team knows I'm not a morning person. So I'm sure if anyone's watching, they're probably laughing. But yes, I'm a definite night owl.
What motivates you at work?
Oh, well, my team for sure. Um, I love when someone discovers like a new answer to a problem, or bringing a unique perspective. I love to learn. I think that's consistent with the culture that we built and the people we've
Mhm.
attracted to the firm is they like to learn new things. Um, but in particular, I'm motivated by other people who are passionate about the work too, and like I said, that they want to be some part of something more. You don't have to choose. Like, do I want to work in nonprofit or do I want to do this work? Why can't we do both? I find that, I don't know, that's what gets me out of bed in the morning. So,
That's a refreshing perspective. Final fun quick Q&A. When you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up?
um, well, certainly I wanted to be a professional tennis player. That was out very early on. And I thought initially that I would be a doctor,
Mhm.
actually, through about high school, and then just really enjoyed I had some inspiring teachers in high school and wanted to pursue international business. And, but like I said, my journey was not a straight one to find where I am today. But I knew it'd be something around uh, the corporate environment, complex transactions, the problem solving along the way. So, yeah, lots of interests, but this has served me very well.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, now it is time for our audience Q&A. And so some questions will pop up. I will read them. Oh, there was one. Okay. First one, does CTS Impact run purely on site or does it have remote options? That's a great question.
Yes, yes, a great question. And actually, I'm glad this is asked because our format, even before COVID, I think helped differentiate our firm. We do not have a corporate office. That might shock people. We find it's much more productive if people are either working at the client or from their home office. So, what we have found to be what aligns with most of our team in terms of their interests is some type of a hybrid model where but hybrid is defined, I will tell you right now, still a little differently
Yeah.
depending on the client. We have some staff who go in very occasionally, others might go in a day or two a week. But we have other staff who really want to go in. It's really working with the clients to understand, do they have the space for us to go on site? But remote, absolutely. The work is very much, um, it's easy to accommodate a remote format. Yeah. And we work hard to make sure that even though you're remote, that you're very connected to each other, right? That's the trick.
Yes.
Yeah, because remember, it's a team format. It's a collaborative model. So we're not just individual contributors heads down. It's how you're interacting with others. So we're very, I'd say we're very versatile in Zoom and all the other tools. But yeah, great question.
Okay, Sharon asks, oh, I like this one. Have you gone to any major tennis matches? If so, where and who did you see play?
Oh,
I'm
oh,
a tennis player too, not competitive, but I just like playing.
well,
Thank you, Sharon.
thanks, Sharon, for asking that. I've been to all the major slams except for the Australian Open, and I try to make it to New York for the US Open every year. My favorite tennis player is Roger Federer. I actually see him as an inspiration. I had a chance to meet him a few years ago because, again, what he's doing for helping the world outside of just tennis, but using it as a platform. But I would encourage everyone to go see tennis. It's like no other sport. It's not just about the win, but it's how you win and the integrity and the sportsmanship and professionalism. It just resonates with me. So get out on those courts and
Yeah.
go check out some tennis.
Did you find that you not having a core consulting background affected your acceptance as a consultant, excuse me?
Wow, that is
That's a
a
good one.
great question,
Yeah.
and actually really serves nicely to kind of reinforce our differentiating business model. We are not recruiting people who are career consultants. And rather than seeing lack of consulting experience as a deficiency, we view it as a strength because we wanted to bring that practical, been there, done that, walked in your shoes perspective. That's why clients are hiring us. So the key for us was just being able to articulate that that was our model in terms of how we would help clients as in an advisory capacity was a practitioner's view versus a theoretical model, which would be the traditional consultative model. So great question there. Yeah. So we've turned it around from, again, from a deficiency to a competitive advantage. And that is why clients hire us. They want to know, what did you do? What worked? What were pitfalls to avoid?
Yeah.
And like, give us the scoop. That's why they're hiring us, because I say we've got the scars to prove it. We've lived through it.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Well, and really stressing that real world experience that we talked about earlier on.
exactly. Exactly.
Madison asks, what types of positions would be available at this time?
We are at all levels recruiting. For us, it's a minimum of about 5 to 7 years of experience. So we're not hiring entry level people at this time because, again, our model is to say we have real world experience. But we have, it's really along a continuum of expertise. In particular, right now, hands-on project management expertise is something that we are seeking actively. I believe there's some active posts with the Mom Project around that. And it's really across different industries. Our four primary industries are banking, real estate, healthcare, and high tech. Right now, fintech in particular. And so the skill sets along that are very helpful, but it may not our entire staff, our project managers. Sometimes we're in the role of a subject matter expert. Sometimes we're a business analyst or anywhere in between. So we're really looking for skill sets, people who have an understanding of project management concepts. Doesn't mean you have to be a PM, across different industries. In fact, for us, the more exposure you've had to different industries, the more effective you actually can be. Again, this diverse perspective. And then people who are very comfortable and savvy with different technology tools. We're not an IT integrator, we're not an IT consulting firm, but we're trying to help clients be efficient. So that means an understanding of what tools can do to help them automate manual processes. So having some type of technology skill set in your tool belt is incredibly valuable to us and part of the positions we're looking for. And then again, this professional curiosity. I know it sounds like an intangible, but we're looking for people who really enjoy solving complex business problems and getting their hands dirty. Oh.
Very excited. Project management. How do we apply if we have experience in all of those fields, verticals, or industries?
Well, starting point, I'd say go to the Mom Project's website. I think there's 2 or 3 postings now that will have various different variables around this skill set. Some might require more specific expertise, some might be broader, but our starting point, Mom Project, as I mentioned at the front end, is a strategic partner of our firm. We view them as really understanding our culture first, not just the technical skills. So I think hopefully there's a starting point there. You'll work closely. Jess Browning from the Mom Project team has been great in screening candidates for us because she already understands our needs. And you'll have a chance to meet her, and then you'll start meeting some of our team as well. But to me, that would be an ideal, or shoot me an email, anyone in our team to start the process. We're, as you can tell by now, we're not too hung up on formalities. We'd love to speak with you, at least to learn more about not just your experience, but your career interests. If we understand where your passion is and we can line up projects for you along that line of passion, that's when we have staff. That's why they're so loyal to the firm, because it's what gets them out of bed in the morning.
Meeting people where they are.
You got it. Great. Look forward to seeing your information, Cindy.
I don't see specific positions listed on your website, but just an invitation to submit a cover letter and a resume. Are your available positions open-ended? This is a good question.
Yep. And we do that intentionally because we are not a firm of silos. Even our practices that we have, no one lives in a practice. Our practice leads are designed to be thought leaders for research and advisory and a resource for both clients and internal staff. So we leave it open-ended in terms of we want to understand what people have in terms of their depth and breadth of experience. For me, what's very helpful in your cover letter is to highlight, like I said, not just your experience, but what you're interested in. What are your core competencies? If I speak with you, I'm going to ask you, what gets you out of bed in the morning? What's your dream project? If we understand that, that's a great starting point for us. So yes, it is by design that it is open-ended.
And I think we have time for about one more.
Okay, I'll talk fast.
Oh, no, you don't. You don't have to talk fast. John asks, do you have any tips for getting interviews when returning from the workforce after an extended leave? I am a dad returning to the workforce for software QA after getting my teacher's assistant certification and teaching my special needs son at home.
I think that's an excellent question and very relevant to many people who have taken a pause for different things, for different reasons. For getting interviews, I actually think it's very helpful. I've seen it on resumes for people putting in a short comment about why there's a gap in their career chronology and being very upfront about that. I think it's informative. And it also, I think, is whatever you can do to articulate things that you did during that gap. Did you take a class? Did you help at a nonprofit who was passing out lunches for people during COVID? Whatever it is, I think it allows you to show your unique self. So view it as a benefit. But in terms of getting interviews, I think having that information up front and taking it off the table as a negative, let's turn it around to what's the unique attributes that you can bring to this organization. So hopefully that's helpful. And software QA, from what I understand from the IT consulting firms, is in high demand all the time. So I would think between the two, your depth of previous skills and how that translates to the current needs, along with adding a description, I think that could be very helpful for you.
Yeah, John, thanks for asking that question. I think it's a common question among our talent community about career pauses and how to navigate that afterwards.
Absolutely. And I have to tell you, I think what I've seen particularly, over 6 million women left the workforce in 2020 because of COVID. Concern to me and other women leaders about making sure we have women to bring up. One of the organizations I'm part of is to advocate for women in boards for public companies and roles. We want to make sure we have that pipeline, but don't apologize for prioritizing your family.
Absolutely.
That's a huge decision you've made. It's the right decision. If the decision was to stay home, there could have been other challenges, health, career, whatever it is. I think it's part of who you are. It's your authenticity. You own it. And now you just want to make sure there's skills and support and tools for you to be successful as you return to the workforce.
Yep. What wonderful closing advice. I think that was a brilliant question to end on. Well, Julie, thank you so much. This has been incredibly impactful talking to you and learning more about CTS Impact. And I hope this helped all of our talent community who tuned in today. And a reminder, it will be in your inbox shortly. Thank you so much, Julie. And thank you everyone for attending.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Elizabeth. You're a great moderator, and I hope it was helpful for your group. And I can't wait to hear from more of your team. Thanks for the opportunity. Take care.
Thank you. Bye.